John Lennon and Paul McCartney formed one of the most influential songwriting duos in music history, responsible for the majority of the Beatles' most celebrated work. However, their creative synergy was not without its tensions, particularly when it came to McCartney's songwriting, which Lennon often critiqued with brutal honesty. In their early years, Lennon and McCartney were inseparable collaborators, often composing together at McCartney's childhood home. Over time, as their individual styles matured and artistic differences surfaced, they began working more independently. Songs were increasingly written alone, with the pair meeting later to tweak arrangements or add final touches. Lennon once reflected on the dynamic between them, saying McCartney's contributions brought a certain buoyancy and cheerfulness, whereas his own work tended to delve into moodier and more introspective territory, often infused with bluesy tones and minor keys. For a time, Lennon thought McCartney was the master of melody, while he saw himself as more of a rock and roll shouter. But he later revised that view, citing tracks like In My Life and This Boy as proof of his own melodic sensibility. Following the breakup of the Beatles, Lennon didn't hesitate to speak candidly about his feelings towards some of the band's most acclaimed projects. He voiced disappointment in albums such as Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, Let It Be, and especially the closing medley on Abbey Road, which he viewed as disjointed. Among the tracks he was most critical of was Hello, Goodbye, a single McCartney released in 1967, not long after the death of their manager, Brian Epstein. For McCartney, Hello, Goodbye was a philosophical musing on the dualities of life, light and dark, yes and no, good and bad. He explained that the song's meaning lay in its simplicity, the idea that opposites define one another, and that this contrast is central to the human experience. Lennon, however, found the song uninspired. In a later interview, he remarked that it was unmistakably a McCartney creation, predictable and intentionally commercial. He claimed it was designed to be a hit but lacked depth. The only aspect he seemed to appreciate was the song's spontaneous outro, which had been improvised in the studio and included his piano playing. He likened its charm to the unplanned ending of Ticket to Ride, another track he held in higher regard. Critics were divided. Melody Maker felt that the song lacked the experimental edge that had become a Beatles hallmark, especially the Eastern-influenced textures and psychedelic flourishes. Still, they acknowledged the band's emotional essence hadn't been lost. NME, on the other hand, praised its mainstream appeal, calling it a well-timed response to fans who feared the group was drifting too far into avant-garde territory. Despite the mixed reviews, Hello, Goodbye proved to be a massive commercial success. It climbed to #1 on the UK singles chart and stayed there for 7 consecutive weeks, securing the Beatles' 4th straight Christmas chart topper, a feat unmatched since the explosive success of She Loves You in 1963. American magazine Cashbox offered a different perspective, lauding the song's minimalist approach. It observed that, while the lyrics were sparse and the melody simple, the track still managed to capture a kaleidoscope of sound, showcasing how Lennon and McCartney could pack extraordinary color and texture into even the most stripped-down material.